What's up, guys? Subzeric here, back for another VOD review. We are going to do a YBY1 VOD review today because his name's YBY1, but quickly, I just wanted to show this clip at the start here of me and Kai in the background watching YBY1 play and yapping. We're yapping with a couple other people, one of the mentees in Project Mentor, and then Lush, the European player, is to my right. You can't see him, but I just thought it was funny. I was scrubbing through YBY1 VODs and found us all. Yeah, you can see Lush's face a little bit there. But yeah, we just saw YBY1 here streaming, and we're watching him play, even though he, I think actually, wait, in this clip here, does Kai swerve in for a, he I think he just said like, oh, you're a beast to YBY or something like that here. Okay, let's go watch the real VOD though, because YBY1 played a really interesting game. I'm starting at 1-3 here because there was a pause to start off the game series. So you can see we got dropped early GP Mels here, is the only thing that happened earlier than this, but there was a pause and I don't have to skip through the whole pause. And YBY1 is going to use this early econ in Scuttle Puddle, plus, the gold orb that we got dropped here to make a quick 10 gold here. This is a game from, I think this is actually round 2 of the tournament. So, not actually the furthest in the tournament, but if you check his lobby, it's actually a stacked lobby. We have Milk in this lobby here, Tartaman in this lobby, Kibby, Darth Noob here, so stacked lobby. First thing YBY1's going to do this game actually is unlock an early Poppy here. So gets these items, opts to slam the Sunfire here, plus bow onto the Rumble here without much other yordles. It's an interesting slam actually for this, and kind of surprised me. It's not the whole reason I want to do this VOD review, but partially it's just YBY1 plays interesting TFT and I want to watch him. He did make it to the round of 64, by the way, just barely did not make final lobby, which it happens. YBY1 also gets offered some pretty interesting silver augments here. Yeah, we can actually go back and look at what he skipped. Obviously the Cold Shot is just not a great option, and the Wind Hex one, really not that great either. But he opts to take this sword augment over, some decent other options here. The slamming items one is quite awkward this set. But portable or latent forge I think is not bad. But opts to take this sword one that gives you a sword, and then after you use 65k physical damage, you get 2 more. This one, I haven't really seen it preferred by players too much here. But YBY1 is going to, play the GP that he got from Orb here, make the GS plus the Sunfire that he made already, and this is going to be our early board, and this is going to be our early game plan. It's like a Bilgewater board, right? The problem is we don't actually have Bilgewater because we never found Twisted Fate, and you can't obviously have any access to Twisted Fate or to Graves until you have Twisted Fate, so you have to. You don't get 3 builds until you find TF is the way things go usually. We do find another GP here, which we'll talk a little bit more about the game plan as it evolves here. But I think YBY1's gears start turning in this spot, I would say. I think he starts thinking about stuff that most players are really just not at all looking at. And it's so surprising because, the Paris Open, was the Void Open in many ways. Void, a lot of Voyage and like Vertical Bilgewater, played, MF Bilgewater type stuff was my, last VOD. And, a few other things like Diana played. But for a player to make it to final lobby in a tournament like this, or, YBY1's case, the round of 64, you do have to play a lot of stuff that's not those comps, right? Because you can't get a void spot every game, you can't get a build spot every game. Those are 2 comps that you actually need the units on 2-1 to hit. And so learning how to play less obvious spots like this, which, this game he had to, he's playing around the GP for now, and he has this GP pair. Knowing how to play around kind of less obvious spots like this, I think is actually like quite interesting. And a lot of people, boil TFT down to, the person who won the tournament is the person who got the void spot. But no, the person who won the tournament is the person who played well enough in all of their other games to get to the point where they could be put into the void spot, and then they went out from there. Which is it's what TFT is all about, right? Making the best of the spot that you're given. And yeah, we opted to take Glove here off Carousel here, playing more towards these kind of like damage items for the GP. I mean, right now I really don't know to say if YBY1 is thinking it's just a regular bilge game. We have these GPs, but the awkward thing is we haven't started stacking up our Silver Serpents yet. That is a kind of a tongue twister. We just have the 2 GPs in the Alawi. We have not found a single Twisted Fate yet. And there's also other people. We just saw a Twisted Fate. Other people who are playing towards Void as well. So a lot of Void happening
Bilgewater, happening in this lobby here, which makes it more annoying for you to play it, right? It's going to be harder for you to find stuff like the GP2, but most prevalently stuff like Nautilus 3 is never going to come with other contesting Void players, and even finding like Misfortune becomes way more difficult. So yeah, now we do finally get the bilge in here. Haven't stacked up any Silver Serpents yet, which is awkward, but we at least get it in at this point, and do have this board that is almost on its way to a broken up 5 streak. Sadly, we did not win 2-3, but still 2-win, loss 2-win is not the end of the world. It's a very reasonable start, so happy with that at least. And yeah, holding on to the Briars here tend to be really good to play on this board, obviously, because the connection between GP and Nautilus here. Remove our items here so that we can get them onto Twisted Fate, so that we can pick up that Graves, so that we have 4 to play, 4 Bilgewater, and then if we find the Nautilus, we can play 5, or we can do other stuff. Pick up another glove here, and a golden orb here with a full item anvil and the Shentu. So a lot of good stuff in this shop here, but we do have to start kind of like figuring out what we're going to build from in this spot. And in YBY1's idea, it's take the Hodge out of that anvil here, slam this glove here, and I mean at this point we're actually playing really hard towards these kind of like almost AD frontliners here. And yeah, we reforge here and we pick up IE here, and boom, that's the slam as well. So we have great GP items. But the slightly interesting thing about this spot is that, Hodge is not that common of a slam when you are playing this traditional like MF version of the comp, because it's not an MF item. It can go into other people later, but it's not quite an MF item. And we'll kind of resolve that as we get through the game. Not going to be Dumbify. I also think this one, I forgot what it's called, but you have to have 2 units in your front line. They get 40 armor and MR. Tends to not perform that well. People don't like it. We roll these and get some better options here. And obviously Fire Sail's a very solid econ option. And Second Wind's a very solid combat option. So I would gravitate towards the Fire Sail, just because we don't have an econ augment yet. Getting at least an econ augment puts you in a good spot, and then we just pick up the Bilge Dupe, and there's GP2. So this is a spot many people have been before. They have a GP2 on 3-2, have a couple upgrades, really one upgrade outside of the GP2, and I think 90% of players would play this into a Bilgewater spot. 90 is actually like generous in the other direction. I think like 99% of players would play this into a Bilgewater spot. YBY1 though is YBY1, so he's not going to make the game that easy on himself. We do actually, speaking of making the game not easy, heck, oh my God, that is a tragic loss for YBY1 here. Drop our streak here. That is really sad, because I mean it was so close to us being on streak here. Rerolls a shop to dig for better stuff here. Wants to find stuff like the Nautilus so we can get 5 Bilgeon potentially. Wants to also find like better upgrades. The TF2 really not. Allow E2 would be more consequential than TF2 on this board, obviously, because we have all of our damage items onto the GP. We just need more time, or more solid damage dealers. Stuff like Graves is just kind of a monster on boards like these. But yeah, we take another loss here. Still not, the end of the world, but not amazing. And we see this carousel, and I think this is the carousel that actually makes the game open up a bit and allows us to go down a very weird angle, but a very cool one, is that YBY1 sees the Spat Pan carousel and opposite take Pan here. Pan and Spat in general, this set I think have been deprioritized by a lot of people. They're just not that excited to go for these anymore, with the fact that there's just less verticals in the game right now. It's not easy to play towards a vertical and then win the lobby, but what is quite good, I do think, are these pans that can allow you to open up +1s that, are awkward to fit normally, or allow you to just play more towards these good +1s. Stuff like, Vanquisher is the obvious example here. We could fit this on this board, have Vanquisher added for the GP, and then also, it's really nice with stuff like Fiddlesticks late game, who, you can just get Vanquisher onto, and he can be a monster here. So last fight, sadly, we do lose that and take a 3 loss streak here, but we still can play for the Vanquisher. Just have to make the Spat Slam here, which is, it's done, it's ready, and YBY1 sees, okay, maybe this fight could be a Vanquisher Spat diff, and we have the unit to put it on now in the Fizz, because before, who were we going to put it on to? Like TF, I guess. And so we slam it here, win this fight, and we're in a Vanquisher Spat spot. Now, I think there are some players here who would say, okay, even if you do have a Vanquisher spat here, I'm just going to use it to like tempo and then just play Misfortune with the Vanquisher spat and play Fizz on the board, which I mean, honestly, I don't think is even, or not Fizz, I don't know, Fizz, F unit, Fiddlesticks on the board. And I don't even think that's a, you know, a bad game plan by any means here. It could certainly be fine here, but as we, you know, pick up more GPs, these build shorter duplicators, we do actually have an idea that we could play more towards Vanquisher than, you know, is normal. You know, most often you're only playing 2 Vanquisher. We do push 8 here and roll a bit, mostly just because it is Scuttle Puddle, so it doesn't really feel bad to push early level here. We do have an Even Shroud that we could slam here, or I mean, I guess he's just going to slam nothing here in this spot, which is interesting. So I was going to say he could slam Nashers as well, which does well, obviously, for units with high crit, like Vanquishers. But yeah, looking at his swords, actually, yeah, let's go back and see what his sword hover is at here. Wait, I can use this pro tip, use the comma to go back frame by frame on a YouTube video. So we're at 59K out of 65K. So actually very, very close, likely to farm this next round. About 4-3 is pretty average, I would say, to farm it. So looking good here. Last Augmento here. Roll over the Belt Augment immediately, which is, I actually like this Belt Augment a lot here. But I mean, the TG is fantastic onto Vanquishers. The extra HP is not even bad. And then, ooh, yeah, the Celestial Blessing is juicy onto any kind of melee board, which is that what we're to play towards? I mean, who's to say? The other nice thing about CB is with the Hodge here and the Slaya here, it allows us to actually already unlock the Atrox here. So really, really nice to pick up the Atrox unlocked, especially, you know, if we want to play one of these weirdo comps. Once again, not very commonly played. Most players would just play this into a random MF game, but I mean, with the context of how contested MF is, I do think it makes sense that YBY1 said, okay, you know what? I mean, this player is playing MF. I think there's another even Bilgewater player in this lobby. I don't really want to be, you know, 3-way contested Misfortune, so why not just play this setup here? And he picks up a lot of the pieces in this round here, and then boom, 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 boom. We get the Atrox in, we get the Belveth in. We're still holding Ambessa on bench here, but she can come in later. We get the Swain and the Ambessa 2 on the board here on that roll down. And all of a sudden, it becomes a Vanquisher Slayer spot with the GS slammed on Ambessa so that when she dies, we're also going to unlock Melmedarda. I mean, it's just such an interesting spot because this comp was, I mean, kind of common, you know, like PBE and stuff like that, but really pretty uncommon at this point in the set. Almost no one is playing towards this. The board does fit, you know, very, very nicely. A lot of good synergies on this board, but when it was nerfed from PBE, a lot of people just said, I'm not going to play this anymore. YBY1 looking at Edge of Night here, it looks like just great melee carry item in general here. Probably, I would think, going to go on to the GP and then we're going to move like IE over, but we'll see here. He does actually, so he unlocks the Mel, but opts to just roll over it because he's like, I actually want the traits on. This is a question that I often have on this board is, you know, do you play Mel, lose the Briar, and, you know, you can easily play 2 Jug on this board with the Nautilus plus the Swain here, but obviously you're losing Slayer then. So then you kind of have to either play 3 Slayer, which feels really, really bad, or find another Slayer to play, which also feels quite bad. So he's of the opinion that you don't actually play Melmedarda on this board. I'll see oftentimes people just cut down 2 Slayer. They'll just cut out of obviously GP and also the Briar is the idea that a lot of people have. But that's not the idea here from YBY1 because he knows we have the Vanquisher +1 and we could actually play towards a more vertical Vanquisher setup, which once again, like who plays vertical Vanquishers? YBY1 does, and I mean, these are the games that I think are really, really cool. You know, anybody can play a random Void game and find success, but you know, these creative, weird options. I mean, this is what this set is all about, is being creative and playing kind of weird lines that, you know, no one else is going to play here. And with a really close fight, we do actually beat I'm So Fresh here, which is cool. And you can also see, boom, look, there's another GP, another reroll, another GP. We are literally 1 GP off GP3 at this point once we get enough Silver Serpents to farm the GP here. And, you know, GP3, he's nerfed. He's not in his heyday, but if you can have a GP3 plus Ambessa plus Belveth trio carry at that point, I think there's actually a lot of solace there. So we're gonna roll down here. Really just try to find some upgrades onto this board. Hold on to these extra Fiddlesticks here. I do find the Swain 2 here. Yeah, frontline is kind of very important in these spots. And yeah, he does actually. Wow, he drops fully out of bilge here. Wow, that's crazy here. And then item side-wise, he does make that Deathblade, just the sword kind of hanging around here, so pretty easy to make. And it also leaves QSS open, which is really nice for Belveth, right? We'll see where it ends up going, I guess. But it ends up going frontliner to GP actually, which I don't know if it's exactly. I mean, GP's a frontliner. Belveth really likes the QSS because she likes the AS, but I guess he is going to keep it on a GP just to give him that CC immunity, and then the GS plus the Edge of Night stay on the Ambessa here. So really interesting roll down and really interesting board that he's pivoted into. Said, you know what, I'm actually shocked that he got out of build before he farmed that last GP here, because he probably had to play it for like one more round here, but he just wanted to pivot into this board here where we have this super high 4 Vanquisher, which I don't think I've ever seen somebody play 4 Vanquisher this set. And we have the Tarkin on the board just making things tankier, because that's the other big thing we need on this board is tankiness enough that we can have a front line that lives long enough that GP can survive and do a lot of damage. Melee carry comps tend to be really reliant on your tanks, because once your tanks fall, then your melee units take aggro, and then life becomes really tough. So yeah, this is the idea here. Hovers Rek'Sai as well. Rek'Sai, another great addition onto this board because of the fact that she is Vanquisher plus Void actually. But once again, this is a board that I played around on PvE, but I really saw nobody playing around this entire set starting from the actual release of the set. But yeah, we rotate into a strong MF board. But look at this guy, right? This guy, this is Triple H here, is at 1 HP playing MF, and sure, his board stabilizes strong, but once he dies, I mean, it's so much harder to stabilize when you're playing contested comp like that, or any situation where maybe just MF can't even stabilize you. Like it's just awkward. Whereas this setup from YBY1 allowed us to stabilize really hard around the GP, kept him on the board the entire time as our item carry here. I mean, he found the Ambessa 2 on the roll down. It is a situation as well where I think YBY1 is just a beast of effects of a flex player here. Wow, actually sells the Taric here so that he can get the Rek'Sai in here, finds the stronger, also rolls down and finds the GPs to GP3. My God, we just got a huge spike here. I mean, I will say, I do think we might be okay on frontline just because we have the Swain too. So I think that's a lot. I do also think this Ambessa really needs the Edge of Night because we're putting her on the other side of the Swain. So really heads up stuff from YBY1 to say, okay, the GP's on the corner here. He's always going to deflect aggro to the Swain because Swain's a tank. But the Edge of Night is for the Ambessa because she's very likely to dash forward. A lot of these other frontliner units are often going to die in situations like these. And so oftentimes people end up re-aggroing. A Tarth Noob here, by the way, 5/6, Baron Nashor 2 here. So that's a board that we can't beat, I will say. But look at the rest of the lobby, right? Kibi down here, and then a fight between Triple H and I'm So Fresh leaves Tribby Den, Trilby, by the way. Triple H. Isn't Trilby like that's a hat, right? Sorry, I am once again watching this video on my laptop in my hotel room at 2 a.m. trying to record to get a video up for you guys. So like the video, I guess. Also, I'm losing my voice because I was not yelling, but talking loudly so much the entire event long, mostly because these guys, TFT players, like to go to bars and drink. What happened, man? I thought these guys were nerds. I mean, it was very fun. All right, we end up leveling to 10 here just to be as strong as possible because we see we're at 8 HP here. We are 1 life. We need to do everything that we can to win this fight. Really nicely, though, we do fight I'm So Fresh's clone here, playing this board here. Hopefully we can win, though. Kindred is, yep, we do win the fight there. And I'm pretty sure I'm So Fresh is going to lose to a giant Baron Nashor 2. So we're going to roll down a bit, try to find an upgrade onto this board here. Certainly double Fiddle is better than double Atrox here. So this will be what we field here. And hey, I mean, if we beat Baron Nashor 2, then this comes broken, beyond broken. I'm gonna literally just hard force this, but I wouldn't hold your breath. We do actually blow the front line pretty hard here, but we do end up just losing the fight, and it's a top 2. Very nice still from YBY1. Just such a cool board that he played in that I've not seen anyone else play this the entire tournament long. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch for Medify. All of the links down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching as always.